Ma'am, few of the delegates are joining. We'll start in 5 minutes, ma'am.
No problem.
We have already made you as a co-host, ma'am. You can share the screen, ma'am.
Shall I share it now or later?
Anyways, ma'am, however you feel. Later, if you share also, it's okay, ma'am. No issues. Ma'am, with us we have our principal, Dr. H.M. Vishwanath Swami, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Department of Pharmacy, he's HOD, Department of Pharmacy Practice also.
Good morning, madam. Very good morning.
We have Shri Harish, sir, Department of Pharmaceutics.
Good morning, madam.
Good morning.
And Dr. H.N. Sholapur, sir, he is the co-coordinator of this workshop.
Right. Good morning. So are students attending offline or how is it?
So students are attending online only. We have shared the link to them.
Okay.
Since the setup is like, it's different. That is a reason they cannot view the TV, which is there because of the setup. That's why we are told them to join online session.
Okay.
So all online, ma'am, since it is an online FTP.
Right.
So they are all of them are joining online itself, ma'am.
But have you all started classes offline or not yet?
Yes, ma'am. Classes are started.
Started offline.
Exams are over and the classes also are started for all the semesters, as well as PharmD program, as well as MPharm.
Oh,
Classes
wow.
are running. Yeah, classes are running, ma'am. That's not an issue. Since 1.5 months, we have started the classes, ma'am.
Okay.
Even the exams were conducted offline, ma'am, this time.
That's great to know.
Yes, ma'am. It was like, you can say my dream that I wanted you to invite to this college personally. I don't know, somehow it was not possible due to this pandemic. I'm really very happy that you are there at least for this online session and you accepted our invitation. You're kind enough to accept our invitation. I know how busy you will be, but still it is very like such an eminent speaker joining this session is also, you can say, honor to us. And to all the delegates who will be listening to you. And most of the colleges, they are joining today, ma'am. Most of the professors from Davangere College, Bangalore College, Hubli College, they're all joining for this session. I have mailed them the link also. They are joining the session. Thank you so much, ma'am, for kind accepting our invitation, ma'am.
Like Dr. Fatima, it is my pleasure. In fact, if I am available, I never say no, but you had to do some rearrangement. I'm sorry for that.
No issues, ma'am. Sarsija ma'am was very kind enough to change her schedule because others were all industry people. They had already taken a prior approval from their industry. So I couldn't change their schedule, but Sarsija madam was kind enough. She accepted and she changed her schedule immediately. So we could do that arrangement, ma'am. That's not an issue, ma'am.
Thank you so much for that.
Mother.
Madam, once again, good morning. Madam, our sincere request, if possible, better to we are planning for conducting one workshop in the pharmaceutics. So in the offline, so make it convenient to attend that workshop and honor that workshop, madam, later on.
So yeah, meaning when is it in the next year or this year?
Next year, madam. Next year, madam.
Sure. Meaning, let me, you please let me know the program. I will try my best to make for it.
Thank you, madam. Thank you. Most probably, tentatively, it is on in the month of March, madam. We are planned. So we are be in touch with you.
Sure.
Please make it convenient, madam.
Yes, sir. No problem. My pleasure again. In fact, I love traveling, but this 2 years I haven't gone anywhere.
Okay.
Oh, basically, all programs were also online. So, of course, this is one part, giving training, and I also learned many a times from people. So, teaching, learning is a part, but the travel part I do miss.
Yeah, madam. Madam, in your university, classes are offline or madam?
So,
Or-
all the theory classes are still online actually, but we have started for our undergrads practicals in offline mode. And of course, our research students are there for now last 1 year, so there's no issue.
Madam, Dr. Nagappa sir is in Amity University right now, or
He's in, sorry, I didn't get your Dr. Nagappa.
is in university, your university or
No,
in?
no,
Okay.
not in ICT.
Okay, madam. Thank you.
Ma'am, shall we start, ma'am?
Yeah, I'm okay.
Good morning to all the delegates and to the eminent speaker, Dr. Vandana Patrawale, madam. Madam is Professor, Department of Pharmaceutics, ICT, Mumbai. So I request Harish sir to introduce the guest to all of us.
Very good morning to all. I welcome you for fourth day's session. The topic is on drug delivery through medical devices, a case study by Professor Vandana B. Patrawale. Madam is presently working as a professor of pharmaceutics, Department of Pharmaceutical Sciences and Technology, Institute of Chemical Technology, Mumbai. Madam has started his career with a lecturer. Now, since from 2008, she is working as a professor in the Department of Pharmaceutics. Madam is expertise and special interest in the area of medical devices development and technology transfer, particularly examples such as coronary stents, intrauterine devices, and special interest in novel nano carriers, pharmaceutical and veterinary product development and technology transfer, and tissue engineering and scaffold for wound healing. Madam is in her credits have 32 more than 32 awards as well as honors. Say for a few among them, Abdul Kalam National Innovation Fellowship in 2021, Gandhian Young Technological Innovation Award by in 2020, and Madam is awarded with a UGC BSR Mid Career Award in 2018, and she is a vice president for Control Release Society in 2016. One of the Vento Nanotech Prize winner, Nanotech Italy in 2013, and grant award Madam has received for nano vaccines for brucellosis using green technology, a grand challenge exploration grant round 11, that is by the foundation of Bill and Melinda Gates in 2013. Madam is a recipient of Belgian scholarship by Belgian Embassy in 1993, recipient of SRF and JRF by UGC. Madam has awarded with first rank in BFORM, second rank in BFORM by University of Mumbai, and in the first rank in the college. Madam has received total grant of from government funded agencies around 5.5 crores. From industrial or private projects, Madam has received 2.5 crores. Madam has published his research findings in national as well as international journals. Around in international 95 research papers has been published in national journals 11, and Madam has published their findings of this review articles in the international journals around 40, and in national level 4. Madam has published 2 books in her credits, and around 40 book chapters has been contributed in the various national as well as international publishers. Madam has presented her research papers in national as well as international and various universities around the world. Around 150 presentations has been given. Madam has in her credits around 29 granted patents, particularly in the composition of curcumin, composition of toxides, and in some medical devices, Madam has patented. And in the pipeline, Madam has around 12 patents in her credits in the pipeline. Madam has 3 trademarks, particularly for dosal for pulmonary devices for therapeutic, and nanotrack for targeting diagnostic nanoparticles, and SEMTs, that is a self microemulsifying tablets. And Madam has industrial design for inhaler devices. And Madam is actively involved in various memberships, affiliations, as well as professional activities. Life member for APTI, American Association of Pharmaceutical Scientists, are a few among them. With this brief introduction, once again I welcome you for this FTP program, Madam. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for those kind words. And of course, at the outset, I would like to thank the organizers for giving me this opportunity to present some of the work which we've done at ICT. And in particular, thanks to Dr. Fatima for coordinating it during the course. My slide is visible?
Yes, ma'am. It's visible, ma'am.
And I'm clearly audible, I suppose?
Yes, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Fatima. So as mentioned earlier, the topic of deliberation today is drug delivery through medical devices. And in particular, I would be taking some case study of coronary stents, which we have developed. And in fact, these stents are being now marketed in more than 65 countries. So it's a clear case of academic development, which has gone to industry. So it's a translational potential also would be highlighted, and how we have gone about, I would touch upon those points too. So yes, this is an institute where I belong to, Institute of Chemical Technology, Matunga, Mumbai. But now we do have 2 more campuses. One is in Bhubaneswar, Orissa, and another one in Jalna, Aurangabad. And in fact, ICT has a privilege of giving 19 Padma awardees to our nation. So a very, very active and dynamic place where each one of us is propelled to do work which can be translated to industry. And luckily, we are in a location which is very close to Gujarat belt. And therefore, we are able to put in all our efforts towards that. If you look at top 10 global causes of death, very clearly you can see that heart disease is one amongst them. And in fact, deaths per, if you look at 1 lakh populations, maximum in case of heart diseases. Therefore, what we can see is about 17.8 million deaths are actually happening from cardiovascular diseases. And that accounts for 31% of all global deaths. Causes are many, of course, sedentary lifestyle, it could be diabetes, could be high cholesterol, wrong eating habits, or maybe even physical inactivity. So there are n number of causes, and to the pharma background people, that need not be told. But if you look at that was a current status, what the future beholds also, you can see the projected deaths due to cardiovascular diseases is indicated to be on rise. In fact, in female population, it is going down, but in male population, it is increasing. So that also calls for working in this particular area. If you have to look at the price check, there is too much burden on the healthcare overall cost, be it with respect to doctor visits, be it with respect to hospital stays, cost of treatment, or if there are any emergency situations. And the statistics actually are indicated on the right-hand side. Total cost due to CVD or cardiovascular diseases is projected to be $1.1 trillion in 2035. That's huge. That again calls for having some means of preventing these diseases. So what this slide depicts is, if you have a cross section of artery, you can see that over a period of time, plaque gets developed, and that plaque is indicated by this yellowish orange color. So obviously, when the plaque formation starts, it is going to occlude or obstruct that vessel, because of which the blood flow would be hampered. So now what is done is, when we use stents, stents are spring-like structures, so which are, when implanted in the place where there is plaque, they compress the plaque against the artery. And these stents could be either bare metallic stents, that means they are just metal pieces, or they could also be loaded with the drug. Nowadays, you can have non-metallic stents, and they can be made up of biodegradable polymers. And of course, a lot of work is being done on newer categories, which are integrated sensor stents, which are shape memory type of devices. So slowly, there is transition happening from bare metallic stents towards AI-based stents. Now, what about the market forecast of this? Is there need to develop more and more stents or any other technologies which can help to take care of the plaques which are formed due to lipid deposition? If you look at market by region, you can see that North America predominates, where stenting is being done or balloon angioplasty is being done. But Asia Pacific is not far behind. End user wise, most of these angioplasties, of course, are done in hospitals, but it can also be done in cath labs. Some of them even done in ambulatory surgical centers. And very clearly, if you look at the market value, it is growing. And by year 2027, it's projected to grow at a rate of almost about 5%. So that indicates that definitely there has to be progress in the coronary stent technology, so that again, the condition can be tackled. Now that was about balloons as well as about stents. And in fact, stents are mounted onto the balloons and then sent to the site where plaque is, either through your shoulder or through your thigh. Drug-eluting stent alone, market is 8.3 billion US dollars. So again, that means there has to be a faster approval process so that you can reduce time to market. If you look at the drugs which are used, most of them belong to Limus series. So sirolimus is definitely moving ahead as compared to Zotero, everolimus, or biolimus. Initial stents which came in the market were containing paclitaxel coated on them. And as you know, paclitaxel is anti-cancer drug. So more or less, all of these drugs are some kind of immune modulator. So one needs to be very careful as far as dosing is concerned. Initially, people were using stainless steel stents as scaffold. Then they moved to cobalt chromium, platinum chromium, and now you have nitinol, which is a very material which can give you very thin. This is a stent, spring-like structure. So what is this? You can see the zigzag thing made up of, again, the metal that's known as strut. So if you are using nitinol, you get very, very thin struts. At the same time, it is mechanically very, very strong. So people are slowly moving towards metals, which are biodegradable metals also. In fact, the company with which I'm closely working, we are working and not only front of coating drug onto these, but we are also working towards what could be the apt or the proper metal or metal and polymer combination which can be biodegradable. Now moving on to coronary artery disease, as I mentioned in the earlier slide also, if this is the cross section of artery and the plaque starts getting formed, you will be surprised that it is not until this state when plaque starts rupturing that clinicians will be able to do some diagnostic test. So by then, in fact, a lot of time has been lost. And if the blood clots get formed, obviously it is going to occlude the blood vessel completely, and that can be fatal. It can definitely result in angina attack, which will be very, very fatal. So coronary artery disease is much more than thickening or hardening of the arteries. Because of the reduced blood flow, because of the reduced supply of oxygen, it also can result in reduced supply of nutrients to the heart wall. And therefore, one needs to have treatment procedures for these diseases. So initially what was done, as you might be knowing, is a bypass surgery, wherein you are bypassing, if you see the yellow dots here, these are the places where block has happened. So you are bypassing that either by using saphenous vein from the leg, or you are taking muscle from the arm. So that means blood vessel graft from patient's own arteries or veins are taken, and they will substitute the main vessel which was supplying to the heart. But this is a very complicated procedure. When we say open heart surgery, you can imagine the days patient has to stay in hospital and the cost which is associated with it. Both rise. And people have also come up with something known as EECP, which is nothing but enhanced external counter pulsation, wherein, if you can see here, the plaque has formed, and if collateral, this totally gets blocked, what happens is your artery and veins have smaller blood vessels, which are known as collaterals. So they themselves create a natural bypass. But they create a natural bypass. However, one needs to stimulate, or you need to open up this bypass so that blood can flow through this rather than going through the main artery. So enhanced external counter pulsation will give small amount of current so that this can open up. But this has limitation. It cannot be used for all kinds of patients. Can be used only for those who are really chronic. Already there are stents and you cannot move further up. So what remains as option is what we have worked on. And that is percutaneous coronary intervention. What is done in this case? We are talking about balloon angioplasty. What is done in this case is you are taking balloon which is inserted in the narrow area between the plaque, and the balloon is inflated. So when balloon gets inflated, if you have stent onto the balloon, stent will compress this particular plaque, and after that balloon would be deflated and taken out. So whatever narrowing had happened, because the plaque gets compressed towards the artery side, you can see that blood can again start flowing. This is a very, very specialized process, but minimally invasive, very widely used. In fact, the patients would be taken and kept under observation for 2-3 hours. Of course, if they have other comorbidities like diabetes, etc., they'll be put in ICU for a day, but not more than that. And people they are ambulatory. Then in fact, they can walk back home very, very quickly. So this is showing the plaque formation. This is showing how stent, which is a spring-like structure, is mounted on a balloon, how it gets inflated, and when the balloon is taken out, how stent remains in place. In earlier case, what you have seen is the balloon itself doing the job. Let me tell you, for plaques, which are soft plaques, you don't need stents. You can coat the drug on the balloon surface itself. So when you are expanding the balloon, the drug itself will move into the arterial wall. And from there, slowly it will get released. So coronary stents are tiny wire mesh tubes which are used to treat narrowed arteries in the human body. They are permanent implants. It's not that you remove them, because after they are implanting in place, you know, body's self-defense mechanism will start growing cells. And those smooth muscle cells will cover up these stents. So it will become part of your body. So they are permanent fixtures. You can have stents with or without drug. So those which are without are known as bare metallic stents, if they are made up of metal. And those which have drug coated onto the surface are known as drug-eluting stent. So of course, our work starts with drug-eluting stents. Now you will be surprised that this particular company with which I'm working, they came to me, they were into laser cutting of diamonds. That means they had machines for cutting diamonds. And they were wondering whether that laser could be used for any other purpose. A chairman, the company, Dheeraj Bhai Kothadia, he thought, can something novel be done? And he came across a reference. Came to us at that time in pharmaceutical industry, only osmotic pumps you were using laser. But then when we discussed, and he asked whether you'll be able to take the challenge of coating these, if we are able to give you a scaffold, I said yes. And then our work started. Though at that time, we did not have any of the facilities at ICT. I'm talking about year 1997. We had to outsource even HPLC work because full department had only one HPLC. So we thought, why burden that HPLC with industry work? But the company, I gave them the paper design, and their engineers were very, very dynamic ones. They did not have a single pharma person, but they had good chemical engineers, good mechanical and electrical engineers. So we, with help of them, could devise machine which can make these scaffolds, and then devise machine which can coat these stents. If you talk about fabrication of these drug-eluting stents, we need to talk about mechanical properties, how are these manufactured, and how customization of stents can be done. In mechanical properties, of course, you can have stents which are open coil type, or they could be closed coil type. You can have helical, you can have individual rings, sequential rings. That means there is a lot of novelty which can be brought about even in the stent structure. And in fact, when I'm working with that particular company, we are working at all levels. So every time they are coming with newer materials, they are coming with newer designs. And my job is to design and make the process of coating as easy as possible. Material wise, as I told you initially, it was stainless steel 316 being used, then cobalt chromium. Now we are moving to nitinol. If you can replace that metal completely, people have tried, and they made biodegradable stents wherein polymers and metals have been used. And in fact, Abbott had to withdraw from the market biodegradable stents because their stents collapsed, and that caused a lot of problems. As far as manufacturing process, meaning if you have a rod, a metallic rod, and you want to make such designs, you can use approaches which are traditional, like you can do etching or microelectron deposition, electroforming, die casting. But as I told you, they had laser cutting machines and they had experience with laser cutting. So till date, we are using laser cutting for these stents. There are many upcoming trends which are listed here. And now, of course, people have moved to 3D, 4D printing also. Electrospinning can be done. Fused filament fabrication can be done. N number of approaches. Now, when these stents are placed, it has to identify the plaque and stay put there. It should not move up, it should not move down. So to bring about that, you do have radio opaque markers at both the end of stents. So those radio opaque markers improve X-ray visibility. So they can be made up of gold, platinum, tantalum, many things. So currently we have platinum radio opaque markers onto our stents. And drug release and putting onto the stent can be done using either dip coat, which will, of course, can result in non-uniform and it becomes a batch process. It could be electro-treated or plasma-treated coating. You can use sonication energy to coat polymer membranes or drug particles onto stents and do spray coating. Now again here, how our knowledge helped. Since we knew what are the tablet coating processes, I gave them a very simple paper design and said, generally tablets are rotated in a coating pan while they are coated using a spray gun, which is at a fixed distance. So if you have to coat stents, which are very light, in fact, if you have with the air spray, they will tend to totally move away from when the air pressure comes. So you have to select the right kind of spray gun. You have to select right kind of angle at which you will be actually putting these stents. Now stents have to be uniformly coated, so they should be revolving. And plus you need to have the spray. Stent can vary in size, right? Plaque would vary in size. Plaque could be 1 millimeter, it could be 9 mm too. So accordingly, the stent length would vary. And that's why the doctor will first do angiography and then do plastic to know which kind of stent has to be put. Now also you should know that you can have coating which can be circumferential, meaning totally all sides coated, or it could be one side coated. It is called as abluminal coating. Plus, as I mentioned, you can have varying strut thickness. In fact, we in India boast, the company with which we are working, we boast of the thinnest strut thickness, which is currently 60, but we are moving very fast towards 30 to 40. Why this thickness has to decrease? It seems that The later complications which come are due to these thickness. Higher the thickness, more are the problems. Therefore, this has to be as small as possible. This is one example of a stent from Merrill Life Sciences, which is also based in Gujarat, India. In fact, it's a huge company, deals with other pharma products also, but they are selling stents too. In fact, after I signed CDA with my company, Sahajanand Medical Technologies, which was the first company, these people also came and said, we seek your help, but they wanted same drug and same material. So I said, no. If it is any other drug, or if you want me to work on any other polymers, I'm open, but not with same drug and same polymer. So this particular base of the BioMind stent is cobalt chromium. And you can see the geometry. The geometry is very complicated. The design is very complicated. But that gives excellent expansion when it is on the balloon and balloon is inflated. And only in case of 5.7% of patients, restenosis was seen. Now, what is restenosis? You are coating drug onto the surface of the stent, a drug gets released, and therefore it will not allow cells to grow at a very rapid rate. But if drug is not released in sufficient amount, the smooth muscle cells will start proliferating, and those cells, in fact, form a layer which can again block. And that's called as restenosis. So though on one side, it's a natural body's defense mechanism to generate smooth muscle cells, but if those smooth muscle cells proliferate too much, what happens is higher thickness getting formed, which is known as neointimal thickness, and that can lead to restenosis. So these are some of the problem areas which happen with stents. What are these? One is in-stent restenosis, which I just explained, which is nothing but neointimal proliferation. So if smooth muscle cells proliferate too much, it will decrease the diameter of stented vessel. The other thing is stent thrombosis, formation of blood clots in the coronary vessel. What if you are implanting a stent and by mistake, if your stent is not very smooth, it injures the vessel, arterial vessel. That can lead to thrombi. Not only to thrombi, it can also lead to death. And therefore, it's very important that the surface which you have coated on the stent is very smooth surface. And that's again where our stent gets A+++. In fact, not only from Indian cardiologists, but world over. And I'll show you the clinical results for you to believe. Next problem is target lesion revascularization. That means if you have a stent implanted in one place and unfortunately there is plaque formation seen up front, that means the stent has to move through the stent to reach that site. People are there in India with 7 stents implanted in their body, 7. So multiple stents can be implanted, but this can become a problem if there is reocclusion. That also can be solved. And another thing is late lumen loss, which is nothing but loss in diameter of lumen. So you have opened up the artery, you know what is the diameter. But in follow-up, if that diameter goes on decreasing, that can create an issue. So what are we doing? In fact, we've started using nanotechnology to overcome all the current drawbacks and give additional advantages too. And additional advantages would be that we are able to protect the drug, we are able to provide sustained release, We are able to reduce the dose because it is in the nano form, and there won't be any local overdose too. So this slide just depicts the mechanism of action of coated stents. What happens is when you have coating onto the stent surface, it would get released from the stents and it will pass and go into the arterial layers. And which are those arterial layers? Immediately in contact with the stent is endothelium, then you have tunica media, then you have adventitia. So drug can go and pass and settle inside these arterial layers. And from where, again, slowly, it would leach out and give its effect over a prolonged period of time. Imagine if you are implanting stent and it is taken up by blood circulation. Because blood is continuously flowing. You are not stopping blood flow. So that is of no use. And therefore, it is important that whatever you are formulating, formulate it in such a way that it permeates in higher amounts to the arterial layers. In this way, you will be surprised. We can get drug release for over 1 year. Coming to Biotronic Orsino DES system. This was approved actually by US FDA in 2019. It's very ultra thin, in fact, and has biocompatible polymer, that is PLLA coating. So imagine, we all are aware of biodegradable polymers. We have been using them in pharma. So why cannot they be used in devices? When we started our work in 1997, not a single company was using these biodegradable polymers. All were using bioerodible. And what could be the disadvantage of bioerodible? They themselves can form locus for emboli formation. And because of which, there were issues. So we thought that let's stick to biodegradable polymers, and we were the first one to get CE approval also. So these are the advantages which you can get due to nanotechnology. What you get would be hemocompatible systems, possible to re-endothelize. You need to look at the drug delivery efficiencies though. You need to design the dose very well. It should not be overdosed or it should not be underdosed. Otherwise, there will be problems. If it is overdosed, it will not allow SMC proliferation at all, which is also no good. And if it is underdosed, it will block the vessel, which is also not good. So a lot of work has been done on nanotechnology. There are many recent trends, and I told you people are moving from metals to even bioresorbable materials. And this shows a time frame when bioresorbable stents started coming. Again, initially they were very simple designs. You can see these designs versus the Reva design. Why this design is complicated? Because once you have placed a stent in the blood vessel, it should get locked in position. And that locking will come only if you have certain designs. So these designs actually are inspired by metal designs. But while you are designing this, it has to have sufficient mechanical strength so that when you're doing this mobility inspection using tomography technique over a period of time, it should not reduce. If you have opened up and the lumen diameter is 157, it should remain at 157. It should not reduce. You can see here, like Magmaris design has reduced the diameter. This design, the Mirage, has reduced the diameter. So that shouldn't happen. So aim of using biodegradable stents is to reduce long-term side effects which can happen due to permanent metallic effect. New generation is coming, and in fact, we got a grant recently for working in this direction too. What are the requirements on this biodegradable stents? Obviously, they have to be biocompatible and biodegradable. The degradation products which they make should be compatible with the body. They should be able to hold the drug. So drug has to be miscible in these matrices. These have to be durable up to a year if required. They should allow drug to diffuse out and give controlled elution. Should get elongated when you're actually implanting the stent. Both elongations are necessary, longitudinal as well as radial. So that should be possible when you're having them on the balloon. In fact, you will be surprised nowadays we are using shape memory polymers. That means they'll sense the environment, and depending on them, they will expand. That is where the research is going now. And of course, they should be able to get sterilized because they are like a parent. Can I continue? Coming to some of the case studies, you do have nowadays even biotechnology products which are coated onto the stents. So you can have a nanocomposite with NTCD34. So that will not allow again the muscle cells to proliferate. So they'll be the most biocompatible. But of course, there are challenges. If you are coating anything like that, how will you sterilize? How will you make sure that whatever you've coated doesn't get washed away by blood circulation? So you need to think about those things too. People have coated hydrogels. And in fact, not only hydrogels, we have also coated lipid and polymer hybrids, and they are giving excellent results. So you can coat even genes which can be embedded in nanoparticles onto these stents. So if you want to actually take care of any genetic disease, even that can be done in a localized manner. Coming to our group and what we have done, of course, we are working in many areas, and medical devices only one area. And here also we are majorly focusing on nanoparticles. We realized there was an unmet need. And we knew when the chairperson came of that company that this challenge needs to be taken. And if we can have something indigenous, it will definitely be useful for our country. At that time, we had not thought whether we can move out, but I'm really proud to say we have actually entered more than 65 countries, and next year we are entering the US market also. And then no one can stop us. Probably we'll become #1 player in the stents. So vision was catering to unmet needs with business expansion. An opportunity did exist because we knew about drugs, because of the strong pharmacology base. We knew about the formulations. At that time, I was not thinking of nano, but simple drug polymer matrix. We knew about the sterilization techniques, and we knew about the coating. So expertise did exist. But I could have told them, no, I've never worked on it. That's not what we do. We take up challenges and work with them. Now I'll play a video which will actually make it clear to all of you how stent is implanted and how did we go about. And this is a case study of Infinium, which is the first stent which went to market from our lab. After that, there are 7 stents which have gone, but I will show you the video for the first stent because it was prepared only then. No, the video was prepared for the first time to tell people what it is. So I hope it is seen, and you can see that this is a blood vessel through which the guiding catheter passes. Now on the guiding catheter, you have balloon, and on balloon, you have the stent material. Now this particular balloon is ultra thin polyamide balloon. Of course, it has to be puncture resistant, has to have very high flexibility. I talked about the markers, which are radio-opaque markers. They need to be again placed in such a way that there is no friction, because when they are moving, they should not puncture the arterial wall. So it has to have a very soft tip. Edge to edge welding is done so that smooth and very, very fine progress happens. Balloon has shape folding memory. Why? Because it should be in a wrapped condition till it reaches the lumen. It should have extremely low crimping. It should not hold the stent. Otherwise, stent will come out with balloon. Again, because of the tortuous vessel, should have maximum flexibility. Now you can see the orange color plaque. Once radio-opaque markers have identified, they have positioned themselves. Now you start pumping air. And when this is inflated, you can see the plaque, which is orange color, is getting compressed against the blood vessel. And this is a strut which I was talking about. The strut thickness has to be as less as possible, and it should uniformly get expanded. Not only get expanded, it should get locked in place. So you have seen radial expansion happening. You've seen longitudinal expansion also happening. And after it expands to its fullest size, it should lock in position. Once it is locked in position, there should be zero foreshortening. That means it should not leave its place. Of course, radio-opaque has positioned itself, but balloon material and stent material has to be such that it doesn't move ahead. There should not be balloon overhang also. Once it is in place, you will see that it would be balloon is deflated and is taken out from the guiding catheter, which would have entered through shoulder or through thigh, leaving the stent in place. So obviously the stent has to have optimal cell size. And then this metal, you need to have as low a ratio as possible in the artery, because finally it is a foreign body. It has to prevent thrombosis. I gave you a few challenges which need to be tackled, and that's why people move to biodegradable. But still a lot of work has to be done on biodegradable stents before they can become a reality. So this bare metallic stent was known as Matrix. From there we moved to Infineum. Now we'll be coating the drug onto bare metallic Millennium stent, which at that time was stainless steel. So what you need is a stent, you need the drug, you need the polymer base. Drug which was selected was paclitaxel. Paclitaxel, as you know, is a very stable and robust molecule, but it is an anti-cancer drug. Additional advantages of this drug, which comes from Taxus brevifolia, is that it is anti-inflammatory too. And because it is anti-inflammatory, it will offer certain additional advantage. If you are using polymers which are biodegradable, you know the end results may be inflammatory. So that will also be tackled by this particular drug, which prevents smooth muscle cell proliferation. In addition, this drug is hydrophobic, so it moves to the arterial wall and sits in the arterial wall. So that can give you prolonged effect or effect over a lot of time. A polymer which we have used for the very first time throughout the world, we use biodegradable polymers. Now people all over the world have started shifting to it. Our initial stent had 4 layers, but now our current stent is only single layer. So we talked to cardiologists and understood what is the type of release pattern which is expected and gave them the release. How did we coat? We coated microspheres onto the stent surface. And for that, we used a elastic activation knee. And you can see this is a stent which is mounted and is rotating. And from the spray gun, the microspheres would be coated on the stent surface. And now we are able to even coat nanoparticles. Biphasic release is what was preferred. Initial faster, and then you have to sustain it over a period of time, which also we could get. And that is where our expertise was. Which polymer to use, in what ratio the polymer to be used, what should be the drug to polymer ratio, what should be the thickness onto the stent surface, and how much time you have to give for the curing, for the sterilization, is all where our expertise were useful to them. So having made Infinium, are there any challenges? Yes, there are challenges. If you are talking about diabetic foot, there are challenges to make a stent which is very, very thin and can be used as a peripheral stent. Now, in fact, they have sponsored a PM fellow. The same company has sponsored Prime Minister's fellow in my lab, and that fellow will be getting 93,000 rupees per month as a fellowship to develop this stent. So we are almost, in fact, done. So we need to look at the advantages. You will get lower dose. I've already told you, will get lower polymer load, absolute localized drug effect. You lower the systemic side effects. So moving from micro to nano definitely is going to help. So once we develop this particular stent, of course, preclinical evaluation has to be done. And now in the case of stents, preclinical is not done in mice and rabbits, but it is done in pigs. And in fact, before we even did that testing, we had to make sure that the stents which we made were biocompatible. So you need to do certain studies with respect to, you can see EC proliferation, UC indicates uncoated stent, and DC indicates the drug-coated stent. So initial adhesion is comparable in both the stents, but rate of proliferation of drug-coated stent is very less. And this was a required phenomena because otherwise, restenosis can happen. We did a lot of blood compatibility tests. Again here, the cell count has reduced in case of uncoated stents, but you can see it remains the same when you have polymer and drug-coated stent. We did biocompatibility study. Ideally, platelets should not adhere, because if platelet starts adhering, there will be again occlusion. So platelet adhesions was not seen with polymer and drug-coated, but was seen with uncoated and only drug-coated stents. Same was the case with leukocyte also. After that, we looked at animal studies. And as I told you, these studies are done in pigs. And in fact, this was done in Yorkshire. That means we have outsourced it to Europe. 3 coronary devices were implanted per animal and 2 peripheral devices. So total 3 plus 2, 5. And what you need to see is, what is the late loss? Late loss should be as close to 0 as possible. And in fact, we saw that even with polymer coated, when I say polymer coated, it has drug also, the late loss was near 0. If you use only drug, it is really severe. That means it is not allowing smooth muscle cells to proliferate, so it can injure the vessel, and which is very clearly seen in these histopath slides. So these are actually the slides from pig muscles. And you can see when you use bare metallic stent, that means there's no drug, so much of smooth muscle cell proliferation has taken place. ECM is extracellular matrix, which gets increased. If you use only drug, you can see that it ruptures, which is also not what should happen. But when you use drug and polymer together, there is good degree of endothelization, very thin neointima, which is intact, no stent thrombosis, hemocompatible, no cytotoxicity seen. So if you get all these kind of positive effects, supralimus is now with sirolimus as a drug. We started with paclitaxel, but we moved to supralimus as the market was growing in limus series. And in fact, net result was that many of the international players come to this company to coat their stents because our coating strategy was absolutely great. This was followed by clinical trials, and this happened in 11 centers in Brazil. And definitely we have used, you can see different diameters of stents. How much we have coated is also shown in this. And all these stents were by this company, Sahajanand Medical Technologies Private Limited, with whom I'm very, very closely working. And the trial was named as PAINT trial, and which was to assess safety and efficacy. So it was a randomized design where 274 patients were enrolled. We gave to one arm Infinium, which was paclitaxel coated, to one supralimus, which was sirolimus coated. And we also kept one arm for bare metallic stent. Of course, after stenting procedure, all were given clopidogrel for 1 year, which is a general thing which cardiologist will do, so that the blood clot is not formed and any death which can happen due to thrombi can be prevented. But you'll be glad to know that now we are having those polymers which also release antiplatelets. We have drug polymer combinations where even if this is not given, the human beings will survive. So we are reducing medication load also on patients. So clinical outcome, if you see after 12 months, pay attention to target vessel revascularization, which was 17% in case of bare metallic, which has reduced in both the drug-coated stents. If you look at death rate, again, DES is exhibited better protection. Look at target vessel revascularization. What is given in the green is for supralimus, which is sirolimus loaded. So obviously that has behaved in a very good manner as compared to paclitaxel. So market also for sirolimus, as I told you, has grown. That was clinical evaluation for 12 months. If you look at 3 years, in 3 years also, supralimus excels in comparison to bare metallic or paclitaxel. We also did Texco study. That means in this particular study, we have compared our stent with market leader, which is Abbott. Xience is a trade name. And this study, in fact, opened the world market for us. And what results I'll show you are of optical coherence tomography. I've shown you some pictures earlier for OCT, for biodegradable matrices. You can see this. When you look at strut level analysis for Xience, Xience is in orange, and Tetriflex, which is again a sirolimus coated stent, but with a different design is indicated here. You can very clearly see that OCT results are indicating similar neointimal hyperplasia. Also, suppression and frequency of covered struts, almost same. In fact, Malapose struts, you can see here, are much better. We are much better in case of Malapose struts. And these are the OCT images which show that the vessel diameter does not change over a period of time. And these results really were very, very good. And we went on to then randomized trials, which is known as TALENT trial. I mean, you need not go into intricacies of these graphs. All I want to show you is that 1 year results were published in Lancet. And we have indicated that our stent, which is Supraflex or Tetriflex, both are sirolimus coated stents, having biodegradable polymer coating and having very thin strut, 60 micron, were non-inferior to Xience. That means they were comparable. But now The 3-year result is out and we are much better than Zions. See, these studies have to be done over a period of time. The same patients have to be called. Again, their images need to be done to see whether the stent is in place, whether there's any thrombi formation or not. So all that has been done and the results really indicate that we are better off. So this slides just indicate what are the clinical outcomes when we are using. They are, you can see, absolutely comparable for first 2 years. So what have I shown? Through this study, I've shown that you can actually start at lab scale, but get connected to the industry or let the industry get connected to you and send it so that it reaches beds, patients' beds, can benefit patients at large. And then you learn from your own procedures and improvise on them. So that will give you stent product line. I clearly told you we started with 4-layer design. Now that will take time because between each layer you have to wait. So now we have gone to a single layer design. So that is indicating that in fact, we are able to implant more than now. This figure has gone to more than 4.5 lakh stents because a lot of countries have opened up for us, and cost reduction is more than 5-fold. So very clearly, you can tell doctors that we want Indian stents because they are on par with actually other stents and yet give the cost which is much, much lower. And as I told you, we started with bare metallic, moved on to paclitaxel, then moved on to sirolimus coated, changed the design of the matrix. It became supralimus core. So from here, we moved to cobalt chromium. From here, we moved to another design, which is ultra thin, so supraflex. Then went to everolimus, indolimus, so on and so forth. The story doesn't stop. What are we doing presently? We are coating nanoparticles onto the stents. Simple methodology, wherein we are now using flexinium. They have again improvised onto this particular stent strut design, cobalt chromium, but an improved design. And we have already shown that these nanoparticles are taken up. DAPI, stains the nucleus. We've used smooth muscle cells and shown that the nanoparticles are taken up by arterial walls. So 8 hours study, in fact, at half of the IC50 also indicates that sufficient number of particles are taken up by arteries. We've done the coating is smooth. We've done this indicates a SEM. SEM results very clearly indicate that the coating is smooth. When we take out the nanoparticles, scrape off this surface, suspend it and do the size, you can see that they are still in nano range. Again, here we'll be number 1. Why? Because other people make nanoparticles, but they do not realize that those same nanoparticles, they are dissolving and coating. So when you are dissolving, the nanostructure is disrupted. So we have done comparison with other people who claim that they have nano coatings. They are no more in nano. Whereas you can see after coating, I have done this, and all the particles are still in nano range. We have devised for them ex vivo methodologies, wherein we are using smooth muscle cells. The artery we are mounting in Eppendorf tubes, putting the stent, inflating the stent, and then looking at how much goes inside. After washing up the arteries, we look at how much actually goes inside, because every time you cannot use pigs, you have to have some measurements done ex vivo. So this has given them a very simple model. And that is what I was talking about, improvising on whatever you have learned. So cost definitely will be reduced. And we have shown that when you do the study over a period of 3 days, because after that the tissue starts deteriorating, drug permeation increases slowly. You can see these values from day 2 to day 3. And then we moved ahead. We thought, can we coat 2 drugs? And in this case, we took bivalirudin. Why? Because this is known now to be antithrombotic. So with sirolimus, we have combined the drug and again coated. And this time the technology used is very different. So again, platform technologies we are generating, showing the results so that the company can move. In case they have to put other drugs, they'll be able to put. So we've shown that you have faster onset, which is required so that smooth muscle cells can be arrested, but over a period of time, it should not be very fast so that endothelization doesn't happen. So slow release, biphasic release is preferred. And you can see we have tested the anticoagulation efficacy also with respect to prothrombin time, thrombin time, APTT, and these results. All the results show that we can prolong the coagulation time. So all in all, what I have indicated by these case studies is that yes, translation is possible, and our own labs, our own knowledge houses can do wonderful things. All you need to do, either approach the companies which are nearby or let them approach you, and your work should speak for it, right? So unless you start publishing, you cannot reach them. So why did they come to me and no one else? In ICT also, is because they had read some of our papers. He had come with hard copies of my papers, that you've done some work on coatings. Can you help with coating? So please see that you publish, you get connected to MCMEs at least, if not large scale. Initially, you can start with small scale or medium scale, and then obviously everyone will come to you. So currently, of course, in the lab, we are handling 5 industrial projects right now and many government projects, including there are right now 2 Prime Minister's fellow in the lab. So PM fellows are always on the industry project because industry has to give in writing that whatever we will be making, they would be taking to large scale and putting it in market. So I believe what Mr. Nantakrishnan said, was a Director General of OPPI, is we can develop world-class science and technology clusters, provided industry, academia, and government come together, and we can see that happening. There are so many grants by government which we can take. You can tell industry, it's not that you have to put in full money. In fact, you can tell industry another thing, that CSR, which is corporate social responsibility, under that they can give and fund research. And government partnership, if government also comes forward and pumps in money, I'm sure we can take research in India to the next level. So he said, we look forward to working with government and realizing our vision of a healthy and innovative India, and that's already happening. This is a little old saying by him, but visionaries like him have to actually indicate to the government what needs to be done. So this tripartite relationship definitely is helping. These are some glimpses from our research lab. Now within the lab, we have 3 HPLCs. I told you when we started, we didn't have one in pharma department as a whole, but now within the lab, we have 3. Within the lab, we have Zeta Sizer. We have a ultracentrifuge. We have USP type 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, all apparatuses. Type 4, which very few people have, we boast, and there are so many industrial projects on them. We do have all the facilities to make nanosystems, but we do take up conventional work too. Not only that, we have, in fact, through BMG grant, Bill and Melinda Gates grant, we have developed within the lab a cell culture lab too. So we don't stop. Till preclinical, all the work is possible at ICT. And of course, from there on, we do the technology transfer. And each of the student who joins my lab actually has to, on the first day, tell this loudly. And when they say this loudly, they know that whatever project they are working on, they need to focus. And of course, every weekly there are meetings. Mentors, PhD and postdocs will take their report every day. But with me, they have to meet every week. So their progress definitely goes very well. And this is our happy family, you can see. When need arises, they work as a team. For example, on industrial projects, I generally do not put a single person. What if that person is unwell for some reason? So typically we group them into 3 so that they can really work in a dedicated, devoted manner besides handling their own project. So as Stephen Hawking said, intelligence is ability to adapt to change. So be ready to adapt to change. Challenges will be posed. Be open to take up those challenges. Be open to go out of your comfort zone. And then you will see miracles happening, which I'm witnessing and therefore able to tell you. So with that, I have completed my presentation and I'll be more than glad to take any questions if audience has. Thank you so much once again to KLE College, Hubballi, and the organizers for giving me this opportunity to share the work which we've done in the lab and which has got translated to industry and finally reached even patients. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. The session was very interesting, and we could see a perfect academia and industry interaction over there, and many things have come into the market, and we will wish you that in the near future, even your stunts will be available in the US market also. So we will be looking forward for that. And I hope that it will be very soon. And I wish you a great success in the future, ma'am. There are a few questions, ma'am, from the delegates. So there's one question: is there any chance of dose dumping from the drug-elutate stunt, and how that can be controlled?
So chances definitely are there, and that's how we control, right? What we've done is made microspheres or nanospheres and then coat it. That means you are encapsulating them. If you're just coating it on the stent surface without any cover layer, a cover layer could be only polymer coating. In fact, that again is USP or unique selling point of our stent. What we have is a drug-free layer on top, which not only provides flexibility to these stents, but will also prevent the sudden burst. So very good question. Yes, there is a possibility of dumping, but that dumping can be avoided by putting it in carrier system.
Ma'am, there's one more question. How to know whether the plaque has formed around the stent?
So for this, the general tests which are done, or CT has to be done. So generally these patients who are implanted with stents are called after 1 year, starts with 6 months, 1 year, 2 year, 3 year for follow-up. So just like how your intensivist had actually done the procedure, they will again check it on a video screen, whether there's any plaque formation or not, right? So monitoring is done using video tracking, so CT can be done.
Ma'am, there's one more question. How it is possible to coat genes on the stents?
The same way drugs are coated. So I told you what we are using, genes are negatively charged and you will require positively charged materials. Why? Because all our membranes in the body are negatively charged. So negative will repel. So you have to have a material identified which can actually form a sort of a neutral complex and then entrap them into carriers and coat them onto the surface of stents.
Ma'am, there's one more question. In case of DES, after coating the stunts, how the drug studies will be done and how long the biodegradable DES remain in the place?
Yes, again, a very, very important question. And in fact, when we started this work, what we were doing is we took pH 7.4 buffer with a preservative in 10 ml volumetric flask, and we used to put stent in that, right? And after every type Ellicott, when it has to be taken, stent was transferred to another flask. So it was a static testing. Later on, we have devised now a methodology wherein you will be surprised that we can get 3-month data within 7 days. So just like you have accelerated stability studies, I'm sorry, I cannot reveal the details, but definitely I can tell you that we can do accelerated release testing also. And those results in vitro have to be compared with in vivo. So you can put, if you are aware of how drug release testing for long release parenterals is done, or long release implants is done, same principles are applied here. So I'm not giving the ingredient name, but yes, you are adding something in the release media which will hasten the release, and that data needs to be correlated with in vivo data. So you can use type 4 dissolution rate test apparatus. So type 4 by SOTAX, which we have, gives you a stent holder also. So you can continuously pump in the dissolution media through the stent, the way blood will pass through, and go on collecting it. There are two models, open loop model and closed loop model. Open loop meaning the stent, whatever media is passing through the stent, again is getting collected and passing through till you reach that time point. And other way is where you are collecting after a certain time and then restarting. So you can use, in a nutshell, type 4 apparatus along with solubilizers to accelerate the release.
Ma'am, messages are flowing into the chat box that it was a very wonderful session, very informative session, very nice session. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for sharing your expertise. Thank you for giving in such an elaborate session. And what I could guess is you have a lot of funds generated from your side to help these all funding. As you told, one of your research fellows getting 93,000 per month from Prime Minister's research fund. So it's really great to interact with you. As I told you in the beginning, it was my dream to interact with you always. I've been following you on your research publications, your work, everything. So it was really a very good session, ma'am. Thank you so much for accepting our invitation and giving such a good session. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much. In fact, it's my pleasure to share. I share so that all get activated, and I just want my India to be on top. So if everyone contributes, definitely, the day is not far when we will already in the pharma medical field, you'll see that we are on top. So on devices also, we should be on top. And not only these, coronary devices are one thing which we work. As you mentioned, I think sir introduced me. We've also worked on intrauterine devices and given it to WHO market. So again, the principles are same. You need to understand, the formulations and how those formulations need to be put into implants, and how they should be sterilized. Sterilization was also a challenge with these coronary stents. And in fact, we looked at various techniques, and then zeroed it onto a single technique which could keep the drug as well as polymer intact. So there are small pockets also. If you do work, that's also enough. Of course, if you can do work like this, nothing comes in your way. Grants automatically flow once you start working. That is what I believe. I started in a very nominal way, Dr. Fatima, with a seed money of 10,000 from ICT when I started my research. So I took only magnetic stirrer I could take and some beakers. But now I really boast of having everything. Why? Because people went on working, and the technologies went on transferring. So we can start small, but we have to dream big.
You're a true motivator, ma'am. That's why people get motivated by your work, by your words. That's why you have been doing excellent in this field. Thank you so much, ma'am. Ma'am, one question from research scholar from here.
Yes, please.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good-
Ma'am, actually, as you told, these biodegradable stunts are collapsible. So how these metallic strands undergo degradation, ma'am?
So metallic are permanent. Okay.
ma'am. Yes.
So they do not degrade. And that's the reason why people said that we need to start from 200. We went on reducing their strut thickness. They become permanent fixtures. But yes, there are certain metals. If you had very clearly seen one of my slides where I indicated metals used, the polymers used, I had shown magnesium as a metal.
Yes, yes.
Magnesium is a biodegradable. It's a very soft metal. So it degrades over a period of time.
Then how is the longevity of these stunts, ma'am?
So how long is that long is a question which needs to be answered, right? So
Yes,
when
ma'am.
you actually talk to cardiologists, they say that for artery to regain its patency, meaning to regain its shape, it requires actually only 3 months.
Okay.
Okay, so once artery has regained its shape, then blood is going to pass through.
Okay.
But till it regains its shape, you need to have some mechanical feature. So that was done by using metals.
There's one more question. Other than cardio, can these stunts be used in cancer treatment?
100% yes. Very good question, Shweta. So people are using now stents in many places for localized conditions. You know, many times the cancer therapy cannot reach certain organs. So you can actually coat them and implant them. So now there are bladder stents for bladder cancer. There are for kidneys, there are stents. For GI, there are stents. But of course, this company is focusing more on CVD. Right now, we have not ventured into other stents are much easy because they are larger, they are more diameter, very easy to prepare.
Okay, ma'am. Ma'am, there is one a message from Tima Shetty, sir, who is a resource person for this Atal FDP. He's telling you that it is a very informative session and it was very highly motivating session. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's my pleasure again. I wish that I could attend each and every lecture, but now that semester has begun, it's becoming very difficult. But earlier, during pandemic times, I've attended seven days FDPs at a stretch. I would miss these, but I'm sure if organizers decide and they put it on YouTube, we'll
Yes, ma'am.
get chance to see it at least sometime.
We'll be posting all the sessions on the YouTube, ma'am. And I'll be
Thank
sharing you the links also.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
ma'am. Over to Harish, sir, to wind up this session.
Thank you, madam. Thank you. Just a small portion of your research area that you have today you have presented, but you have the lot of vast experience in the field of our pharmaceutics. Just a small device that you have today you have discussed here. You will be having the vast experience, particularly on intrauterine devices, nano carriers, then veterinary products, pharmaceutical products, and tissue engineering, then indigenous excipients for pharmaceutical as well as cosmeceutical applications. We need your guidance as well as support in the coming days. Thank you for your wonderful session, madam. Thank you once again.
Thank you. And I'm always available anytime. Thank you.
Shall we end the meeting, ma'am?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, delegates, for all your patient listening and your very good interaction. Okay, we'll resume the meeting at 11:15. Dr. Aditya Murthy, alumni of our institution, is joining. He's working in Dr. Reddy's. His session also is interesting. He'll be speaking about the simulation modeling in drug development. Kindly, I request all the delegates to kindly join at 11:15 a.m. Thank you, ma'am. I shall end the meeting.
Bye-bye.
Ma'am.
Have a great
Okay,
day.
bye, ma'am. Thank
Yeah.
you, ma'am. Bye, ma'am.